Every so often we get promptings or guidance on things that we know we're supposed to do, but for some reason we don't do those things. On today's episode, you're going to hear the story of Scott and how he was prompted to make a change. Though he was reluctant, an experience came into his life that helped him to get over the hurdle and to make the change that he needed for him and his family. You're going to love it. Hey everyone, welcome to The Changing. My name is Donald Kelly, I'm your host, and I'm so grateful to have you here for you to watch this video and to listen to this podcast. If this is your first time listening to one of our podcasts, I would ask you to go ahead and hit subscribe. It's a great way for us to be able to make sure that people are actually listening to our content and to help you to change your life and the friends and family that you have. We want you to share this with them, and if you have never done that before and you've been listening for a while, I ask you to go ahead and share it. Share this episode with one person, someone that could benefit from it. As you hear Scott's story, Scott, he grew up, for a time of his life, he came down here for work in South Florida, and that's where I got a chance to meet him and his wife, and they worked with the young adults in the church that we both are a part of, and he was able to just set a great example, and I always just admired him and his wife and just their faith. And when we thought about a guest for this podcast, Scott was one of those individuals, and we said it would be cool to hear one of his a message, because I'm sure he has many powerful messages. As Scott shared more with me about this experience, I thought this is really, really cool, because for many of us, we get those promptings. For instance, you may know something you need to improve on today. You probably have had that tug from the Spirit, but you may just not have acted on it. Why do we do that? Well, in this episode, you're going to hear how Scott had that experience, how he was able to finally make that move, and the change that came to him. It's very powerful. Hope you enjoy it. Scott, welcome to the show.
It's fun to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, man. We're excited, and we want to thank you for being willing to share your insights. As I bragged about you a little bit there in the teaser and in the introduction and about this message, you are a fellow, I would say, South Floridian. You lived here for quite some time, and we're grateful to be able to have you back on the show and to be with some of our folks down here. So thank you. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about where you are and what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so right now I'm actually in Phoenix. Moved here closer to family and have enjoyed my time. I'm a financial advisor and do a lot of community service, a lot of church work, but just really enjoy the time with the family here.
Oh, very nice. Well, South Florida misses you. It's hot, but I'm sure you enjoy the nice heat over there too.
We absolutely miss South Florida, except for the hurricane season. Like right now, we're thrilled not to be there. Right now, we're watching the news, and the only thing we get is a storm here and there and a couple hot days, but nothing like hurricane season. So yeah, we're absolutely thrilled.
Well, enjoy it for us.
It's a crazy time. We absolutely miss South Florida. Beautiful place.
Oh. Well, when you come visit, it'll be a pleasure to see you in person.
We need to make that happen. Absolutely.
Well, Scott, this podcast, as we shared with you, it's all about changing, and we all have experiences, whether it's something small or whether it's something large, that has changed us. And our goal as disciples of Jesus Christ is each day to continue on that path of change. And some of those changes don't have to, it can be like something micro. And I know you have a story about how you recognize a change that you need to make in your life to make you a better disciple of Christ. And I would love for our audience to hear that story. Yeah,
I would be happy to share. So changing is so important. If you're not changing, we're not progressing. And it's so painful to change. So the story is I was loving a dream. I was living a dream and loving what I was doing. I was a sales manager. I was traveling internationally and loved meeting different people, having different cultural experiences. Just had a really good time, and it was a passion for me for a long time. My wife was super jealous because she'd wanted to travel internationally and work internationally for quite some time. But I would typically be gone at least 2 weeks out of the month, if not more. And and it would be not just for a couple nights, it was like 2 weeks at a time. I'd be gone. And my kids were young. So I have twins, they're now 12. And I also have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. but at the time they were a lot younger. So we're talking, my little daughter would have been just maybe 6 months to a year at the time. And I was in Bogota, Colombia, and it was in the evening time, and I was FaceTiming my wife. And we were just chatting. It was bedtime, so my kids were in the bath. My wife was trying to get them bathed and talk to me at the same time. And I just remember all of a sudden she had a scream. And the scream was one of those blood-curdling screams. And she says, "I gotta go," and she hung up. And my heart sank. Like, there's nothing I can do. I'm in a hotel room by myself, FaceTiming her from Colombia, trying to figure out what do I do. And I called her back, and she says, "Now's not the right time." And I said, "No, now's the perfect time. You have to tell me what is going on." And she says, "Look at this." And she turned the camera around. Well, my little boy, who would have been 5 or 6 at the time, had slipped in the tub. And he slipped, and the webbing between his toes got caught on the drain, and it popped the webbing. So thankfully not too much blood, but enough where there was a significant amount of blood there. I mean, he's not going to bleed out, but there's still a significant amount of blood. And she's frantically trying to figure out, what do I do? I got to get the kids out of the bathtub. I got to take care of him who's bleeding, and we got to get this addressed. And so I just remember feeling so helpless from South America. It was like, well, what can I do? I'm so far away. I immediately looked at planes. Is there anything that leaves within the next 30 minutes that I could jump on and get out of here and get home? Obviously, nothing. Everything was leaving the following morning. So I just remember I called up my neighbor, and I just remember pleading with my neighbor. My neighbor, she was awesome. This couple, they were great. But I just remember calling her up and said, "Listen, I don't know what you're doing, but I need you to drop whatever it is, and I need you to run over to my house and help my wife out, because I am not there myself to be able to do it." And she was awesome. And then I proceeded to call emergency rooms. I just called urgent cares, trying to find a place that would see my young son and my wife, to address that, to put some stitches in that popped webbing. And for me, it was after everything was taken care of, early morning, I realized that while this was super fun for me, it was just that feeling of, I can't keep doing this. Something has to change. I need to change, because what's really of value to me? While it's great having these cultural experiences, what's of most importance is being with those that I care about. Feeling so helpless and so far away from my family, really, it shocked me. And so what I needed to do is then make a change in my life, and I needed to come home. I needed to be with the kids. And so from there, it took on a pretty long pursuit to get a full career change, to figure out, okay, how do I drop all of this and go into something different? And thankfully, I was able to do that. But it was that experience that was the turning point for me.
Was this the first time you had that? And I'm glad to hear your son was taken care of, and everything was able to be settled. Does he remember that experience now?
Very much so. Very much so. That experience, and also getting the stitches out, was another super traumatic experience that I wanted to make sure that I canceled all my flights and I was there when those stitches were coming out. But yeah, he absolutely remembers that. Was the thought must have came across your mind before that I needed to change? I'm sure you probably had some kind of guilt there, like but it's good. I'm working. I'm taking care of the family, so it's okay for me. I can even tell you what type of pitch that voice was. It sounds really like my wife's voice. It was really strange, which was, "Hey, this is fun for you, but me with a bunch of kids. I'm glad you're living a dream, and I'm glad that I can be supportive. Are you sure you want to keep doing this?" And my thought was like, yeah, just as you said, I'm supporting. Like, I'm there helping the family. Like, I'm doing this for the family. And aside, it's really fun. That, though, the voice, it was my wife. She was super supportive, but it was constant. Are we still good? Like, are you sure you still want to do this? And as you mentioned, the undercurrent was, hey, this isn't what I want to be doing. Like, we'd already started seeing some changes in my son. It was like, okay, he needs a father around more often than 50% of the time. So started feeling the nudges. My wife, like I said, was that voice, but it was nothing that I was willing to make the change.
Was there like any promptings that you felt at the time? Because I'm sure when you got into it, you probably got some kind of confirmation, like, this is a good path. Continue down this path.
Yeah,
when you first started?
There's several. Like from that time where it was decision made, and then it was trying to figure out, okay, how do all these pieces work? It's unfortunately, I wish we had the time, but just one step after another, and I did a bunch of things in between times professionally that were able to be fulfilling for me. And my wife jokes, she says, listen, over the past 5 years, you've been able to do things that you've always wanted to do that would have never been possible should XYZ not have happened. And looking back, she's absolutely correct. It's things were able to line up in a way where it was beneficial. But you know what's interesting is because to get me down to South Florida, my wife and I, we knew we needed to go live in South Florida. Yeah. And making a long story super, super short, we knew we needed to get down there. Yet it was really weird because the spot wasn't open. And so I told the VP of sales, I sent him an email and said, hey, you have the wrong person in South Florida. I'm supposed to be there. And he basically responded. He said, hey, dumb kid, no, I got the right person. Don't tell me how to do my job. Get out to California. So I flew out to California and I was literally sitting down to sign lease papers for a 1-year contract on an apartment. My manager was with me. Telephone rings. It's the VP of sales. And he said, hey, the guy this morning quit in Florida. Does Scott want the job?
Oh my goodness.
Literally sitting down to sign lease papers. And I said, absolutely. And so I said, we flew down, and that's how we started South Florida. And that was an interesting experience because coming to your point, were there, inklings, were there signs? I knew what I needed to do. Yeah. It's just interesting that the timing is perfect. Yeah. When we talk about God's timing, it's absolutely perfect. And I can't affect somebody else's timing. Yeah. The person who was there needed to have their experiences. They needed to go through their changing moment. And I couldn't interrupt that. I had time up until I signed the lease. Yeah. And it took all of that time up until we were reviewing the contract to realize, hey, this needs to happen. So timing's super crucial, but I can't affect somebody else's timing. It's only it's on a larger timetable.
And I'm really fascinated by that the thought when you mentioned like that timing is important because like say we have different seasons in our lives, right? And you probably impacted a lot of people when you were traveling. You probably had an opportunity to benefit and bless people's life, but it was like a moment where I needed to change. And I think it goes back to many different instances throughout the written texts and scriptures where we see that, like Moses did something for a certain period of time, but the Lord needed him to do another task, and then he was able to do that, and he got people to the promised land, but it wasn't his timing to go into the promised land. He needed to do something else, and that was Aaron's time now. Because if you look at Aaron and all the folks later on, like who were Joshua, all those people coming after him, they had their timing and to accomplish what the Lord needed them to do.
What I find fascinating on that though is there's two types of timing. One where I'm hindering the timing, or one where the timing's just not right. And one common thing I typically use is I love the game hide and go seek. Like I remember playing hide and go seek as a kid all the time. I'd crouch down, underneath a cabinet, and I would just be there. Nobody could find me, and it would get to a point where then I would start making noises, like because I would want people to come find me, but I'm still trying to hide. And I think so many times in our life, and it's typically when I do something wrong, where then I go into this hide mode, and I hide from God, and it's I'm hiding from somebody who knows everything. I mean, as an adult playing with a child hide and go seek, like I know where all the hiding spots are. Like my kid's not going to hide from me inside my house because I know everywhere. And it's sometimes though I wait. I wait because it's not my child's time. My child's time wants to keep hiding, and so I wait. And sometimes my child will start making these little noises like, "Hey, come find me, I'm here." But really, they still don't want to be found. They're just trying to reach out a little bit. And so in my life, I realize how many times am I trying to play hide and go seek with God? Somebody who knows everything, who knows exactly where I'm at, what I've done right, wrong, everything. Yet sometimes I hide. And I think it's the most ridiculous concept, but everybody does it. You look at Adam and Eve. Yeah. Adam partook of the fruit. What did Adam and Eve do? They hid. It's from the time from we first started, it's this classic game of hide and go seek with somebody who knows everything. The most ridiculous game in the world.
Oh, that's such a powerful example. I think I'm going to use that a little bit more. Permission to borrow?
It's all yours. All yours.
No, but it's so it makes the point very vividly with that. And one of the thought that came to mind as you were saying this, because I can understand that how this made sense to you, how this made sense to your wife, and how your family at the time, and a lot of times when people are doing things that they have a personal revelation for, a guidance in their life, others on the outside may not understand why. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about what that was like when you went through this experience where you're like, Lord, I need to change. I need to be at home. What was it like with your manager or colleagues or your team members that you oversaw? What are they thinking? What is Scott doing? Like, he's at the top of his career.
Yeah, and very few people understood. Very few people understood, and I would try to explain the story.
Yeah,
they missed the personal feeling because the people that I was speaking to, they chose for their life. It worked out well, and they chose that international career and made it work, and it's worked very successfully for them. For me, it wasn't working. Now, most managers in international sales see where it doesn't work out. And they see what that looks like. And so they understand what people go through. Yet for me, it was different. Usually it's family can't have it. And so they call the husband back. For me, I had full support from home. It was me making the choice of, hey, I choose to be a father. And it was really interesting because early on in the career in South Florida, I was speaking with a man there, and he basically said, I want you to sell this to doctors, because I was in medical sales. I want you to sell this to doctors and pay them cash underneath the table. And I looked at him and I said, you realize that's illegal? And he says, yes, but nobody's going to find out. And so I needed to make a decision early on in my career in South Florida. Is this something I want to do? And from that point, I said, no, dude, I don't want to play in that arena.
Yeah.
Some people I know did. And it was interesting to see where their lives went. But nobody understood, what was driving me to do that. Well, looking back, I was talking to a buddy about 5 years ago from South Florida. And he says, hey, you remember that mutual friend that we had? And I said, yeah. And they said, well, did you read the newspaper article? I said, about what? And he says, about him doing federal, a prison sentence. And I said, no, I had no clue. And so you look at, you have definitive moments in your life where you can say, yes, I'm going to do this, or no, I'm not. And sometimes you get caught, sometimes you don't, but you always know personally. So as for my buddy who got caught and went to federal prison for doing something illegal that I refused to do, that was his choice. He had a defining moment where he could stand up and say, you know what, I want to do something different. And I don't understand his rationale. He might not understand my rationale. Me being in South Florida, and living there but traveling internationally, I needed to make my personal decision that realistically not a whole lot of people understood while I was doing it. But I needed to make that choice for myself, personal beliefs, and say, you know what, something's telling me to stay home. I need to figure out a way to stay home. And there were a lot of hurdles. And unfortunately, it also meant me leaving South Florida, which we loved it. And it was super hard to do, leave all of our friends. But it was something we had to do because we felt the need to do it.
As we wrap up and come down towards the end of this episode here, I want to hear, how has your life been blessed since that decision? What's your wife's, what was her experience like when you told her, this is what we're going to do, I'm going to stop, and, what did that lead to and the adjustment in your experience with the kids and to where you are now? That's a loaded question, but I hope it's a completely fair question because
up to that point, I was comfortable with not changing.
Yeah.
And because of that instance, because that change was relatively difficult, I felt this desire of, hey, I need to continue changing because that's what life's all about. Like if I'm not changing, I'm not progressing. And comfort, there's something so sweet about a comforting environment where I don't want to change. And so, I'm not doing anything bad, but I just don't want to change. I don't want to improve. And the whole purpose is to become to become better. And so as I'm constantly trying to push myself to become better, then I feel better. Although it's weird because it's really difficult. But when I had that conversation with my wife, it was like, okay, listen, I'm done. Like, I'm going to stay home. part of her was relief, but she also felt guilt, a little bit of guilt of, wait, no, I got you. I'm supporting you. And I had to make it very clear of, this isn't you. You've done a marvelous job. You couldn't have done better. It's me. I'm coming to the realization where I need to make a change and I need to be at home. And she was, super supportive. For me, though, it was just that constant. But that started the snowball effect in my life to say, okay, I was able to change something as difficult as a career to spend more time with family. A lot of people didn't get it, but for me, it was big. What else in my life did I need to change? And so there were several other personal adjustments that I had to make, and I could only make, with Jesus's help, to be able to change my life, to change who I am. Maybe not significant changes, but significant to me. And they were changes, but that was that snowball of, okay, I like that feeling of changing, progressing. I'm going to stick on that, because when I sit back and I'm comfortable, it's not good.
Oh, man. Yeah, I feel sometimes when you make those changes, it's kind of like when you get done with that exercise, that run, or that bike ride, and you just feel that feeling like, that felt good.
which we're not going to talk about that, because one of my it's been nagging me for months is, hey, there are several pounds that I need to lose, and I'm putting it off. It's like, no, I'm going to make changes elsewhere. I'm going to find different places to change other than that, because I'll save that one for a little later time. So right now I'm still enjoying. So yeah, we're not going to talk about that part, because that's a change that I've yet to make, that I know is coming on, and it's on the horizon. It's coming really quickly.
Yeah, everything has its seasons, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I keep telling my cardiologist. Everything has its season. It's just not the time for heart health yet.
If someone's out there listening to this episode and they're trying to change their life, they know they need to make a change, but they're having a hard time doing it, Scott. They know the Lord's touching them, prompting them. What advice would you give them, if you could, to help them in this process to initiate this change that they need to make?
There's several things. First, know that it's going to be hard. Like, know going into it, because if it was easy, you would have already done it. So know that it's going to be hard. Know that you're trying to play hide and go seek with somebody who knows everything. Give up the hiding. There's no reason to hide. Yeah. And it's let's figure out what it is, and then as you go along, once you make the decision, you're going to be excited about it, and you're going to have all this energy and excitement of, yeah, let's do it. I'm going to do it. Let's start. And then it becomes more challenging. You're going to be hit with a setback. Somebody's going to say something. You're going to do something. Something's going to happen where you think, oh, what I'm doing is impossible.
Yeah. And
the probability is it very well could be impossible. Doing it yourself, like me leaving South Florida by myself, with my family, would have been impossible without certain things being set up for me. I know that God was in the details of everything that we were doing, yet sometimes I questioned it. I was like, hey, are you really there? Is this really happening? And then slap on the face, boom, yes, of course. I'm helping you. I'm here with you. So you're going to get a setback. When you do get the setback, talk to somebody about it. Open up about it. And somebody who knows and started to see your desire to change, they're going to step in and they're going to say, hey, listen, you got this. Keep going. And when you get that feeling of keep going because you've reached out to somebody, then you'll have even more energy to keep moving and keep finalizing that change. And yes, you'll pray and Christ will be there through the whole process, which is great. You also need somebody here to help, whether it's an accountability partner, somebody to keep you going and to stay with you. So that's what I see. But unfortunately, a lot of people, we typically drop off after we're hiding, decide to come out and let's change. When we typically drop off, it's when we've been faced with enough challenges. And it's like, you know what? I can't do this by myself. And the reality is you can't. You absolutely, if it's a big enough change, you can't do it by yourself. And that's what this podcast is all about. We're not talking about doing it yourself. Change is with and through Jesus Christ.
Oh, so powerful, man. Would you be willing to close with your testimony for us?
Absolutely. Well, change is what we're all about. Yeah. Our whole premise is to become better. And if we're not becoming better, then we can't do it. This morning I was sharing with a bunch of youth that, when I was 17, I had a choice of, do I continue to go down a path which I found extremely fun and enjoyable, or do I need to change because what I was doing, I knew it wasn't right, but I needed to know for myself. I needed God to be able to confirm of, yes, you need to change. I needed that in my life. And so I just remember praying, but it was one of those prayers where it wasn't just the typical, hey, it'd be nice to know, hey, if you have time, let me know. No, it was like, I need to know. Like, is this something I need to do? And I just remember the answer coming, and it's like, yeah, you need to change. And that feeling of I need to change, that set my course in life as a 17-year-old very different. And so I changed who I was, and it was very hard, but it was the most gratifying experience. And I've had that experience many times in my life where I've been able to turn to Jesus and I just say, hey, I need help. Please save me. And he's been able to reach out and change me multiple times. And it's just such a sweet feeling. And so I'm so grateful for my Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm grateful for his love for me, that he's able to help me continually change.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate that, Scott. If folks listening want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to go about doing so?
Oh, reach out on LinkedIn, for sure. So LinkedIn's really nice and easy. I'm on Instagram. I don't follow it too often, Facebook. But definitely reach out. My email is Schlofman, SCHLOFMAN @gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate you, and hope you have a fantastic day, and hope someone that heard this today that was supposed to hear this will act based on that message.
Thanks so much for your time. It was great.
Oh, yes. What a powerful story. If you would like to connect with Scott, please go ahead and do so. The story was amazing, and I hope that something he shared can help you and your family, or someone a friend that could benefit from that as well. The message is powerful. Jesus Christ can help us. Oftentimes, we're the one playing hide and seek, and if we are willing to get the help, we can go out there. He knows where we are, but it's important that we go out and we ask for that help. We raise our hands and tell him, Lord, I need you. If you find yourself in that situation and you need the help of the Lord, you need some guidance, you need help to change your life, reach out to me, reach out to us. Be more than willing to say a prayer with you or connect you with some of our friends, and hopefully we can help you together. Maybe you have a minister or a bishop or someone in your life that you could connect with to get that guidance. Reach out to them as well. We're here to help you to change. We're here to help you to become better as a disciple of Jesus Christ. We also want you to improve in your personal life with your family. Just like how Scott improved, we want you to be whole. Improve spiritually, improve temporally, improve with your family, improve all around. I know Jesus Christ can help you. He has helped me. He has helped Scott. And he's helping many others. He could help change you. I testify to you that he lives, and he's going to come again. And I want that when he comes, that we all have change and that we are like him. I share this with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.